from Tully and Weiss just a moment ago, usually going in front of a court when you take the stand and becoming agitated is not really a good sign in his experience as someone who takes on cases similar to this one. This case, we saw a lot of testimony from Momeni's sister because it revolved a lot around her and what Momeni said Lee did, or at least drug dealer did to his sister. We did not see her. I didn't catch a glimpse of her today, but we had seen her coming in and out of court when she was actually called to testify on the stand for several days earlier in the trial. But I did not see her going in, but I could be wrong. We are waiting for Henry Lee to come out to talk a little bit about what's going on in there. But going back to what we talked about a little bit, the defense also had a retired San Francisco inspector on the stand who told the jury that it was reasonable to believe that Lee was the initial agitator, saying that actually I just got word that we have Henry Lee now, that we can talk to him about exactly what happened in the court. Henry, if you can hear me, can you tell us a little bit about what happened inside the court when the verdict was read?
Yeah, well, within minutes ago, the jury found Nima Momeni guilty of second-degree murder, as well as an allegation that he used a knife. So what this means is that he could face 16 years to life in prison in the deadly stabbing of Bob Lee. Now, that second-degree murder means that they did not find that he acted with premeditation or deliberation. That would have carried 25 or 26 years of life if they found him guilty of first-degree murder. So, again, the headline is second-degree murder after this jury of 6 men and 6 women found him not guilty of first-degree murder. They went to the next rung, so to speak, guilty of second-degree murder. At first, when they said not guilty of first-degree murder, his attorney who's in town, Tony Brass, kind of put his hand on him as if, to revel in that decision. But then it came back guilty of second-degree murder. The same attorney put his hand on him again. No visible reaction from him, and because his back was to us. But again, the family of Bob Lee was there. I couldn't see their reaction at this point, but there were some hands also put in their direction. But again, a full packed courtroom, and the sentencing of Nima Momeni will be at a later date.
And we know that sentencing is going to come from the judge themselves. There are some court cases where the jury can actually determine the sentencing, but that will be coming from the judge. Have they actually set that date just yet, Henry?
Not yet. Didn't hear a date unless it was really chaotic afterwards. We were trying to get out to tell you guys the verdict. We expect to hear from DA Brooke Jenkins, who was in the gallery. We hope to hear from family members of Bob Lee, as well as any other interested parties. Now, to note, I did see 3 alternate jurors who came back for the sentencing. They did not participate in the deliberations, but because they've put so much of their life into the 6-week trial, testimony, witnesses, they came back on their own time to be there when this verdict was read.
And Henry, is there any indication that any of the jurors will speak with reporters after this case? Again, it made national headlines.
They were told by the judge that they are welcome to do so, and it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to talk to us. We have Christian Captain and my colleagues all upstairs right outside Department 28 waiting as we speak to see if anyone wants to talk to us, including jurors.
All right, we see that someone's getting ready to speak. I can't tell who this is, but let's listen in and see if we can learn more about what happened in the courtroom just a short time ago. All right, while we work that out, we do have Michael Cardoza, our legal analyst, to talk a little bit about this verdict. Michael, if you could...
We'll put him away for a long time. It's just, this case was extremely hard to prove because it was just Nima's word versus my brother's word, which he's not here to be able for anybody to be able to hear those words, right? And they were able to get it knocked down to murder 2 or whatever, but it is what it is. We're extremely thankful to the district attorney's office. We're extremely thankful for the juries. We think justice was done here today.
Why do you think the jury decided what it did ultimately? What was
so the jury only sees a small slice of what was presented within the courtroom. They weren't privy to all the information that we were, that the press was, the rest of the world was in this case, meaning that they didn't understand the context that was around that, and that's just the nature of what happens within a criminal trial, right? But we know what happened here. right? We think he had the intent to murder. The jury felt like he did not have the intent coming into that situation. But what matters today is that we had a guilty verdict and that Nima Momeni is going away for a very long time. And that us, the family, Bob's kids will not have to see him on the street, right? It's been a very, very crazy ordeal. It's been so hard to be able to live through all of this, and we're pleased that we're able to move past this part of this chapter in our life. There's still more of the book to go on, but we're pleased with the verdict today.
Do you have any thoughts on sentencing? Any thoughts?
The sentencing, as I've said through this, actually, I do not know what the maximum is for murder 2, but obviously we think that's true. The intent, what we wanted the outcome for this trial to be, doesn't matter whether it's murder 1 or murder 2, it was that Nima Momeni is not, that Bob's kids do not have to see him on the streets again, right? And we think that that's a possibility here.
What would murder 1 have done for you that murder 2 doesn't?
You know, it's a great question, and I don't know. Like
longer sentence.
Longer sentencing, yeah. Everybody, this is Dad, by the way, and Krista, all of us standing here together. And
what has the last week been like waiting for this jury? Everybody's made a big point of how long it's taken. It must have been difficult to wait this long.
Yeah, this has been one of the most difficult weeks of our lives that was preceded by the next most difficult week of our lives, which was preceded by the next most difficult weeks of our lives, and all the way back for the last 18 months. This has been an extremely hard process to be able to try and get through and to just live through, right? We're happy this part's over, right? And we're happy it's a guilty verdict, and we're very thankful to the jury and the district attorney and the police of San Francisco.
Where did your family go from here? What's next for you?
So our family tries to start healing from here. And so what's happened over the last 18 months is this has been an open wound with our family, right? And it's been so difficult because just the scrutiny and and just all of the context that has been around this has been extremely hard for us. This marks a point where we know that Nima Momeni now is being held accountable for his actions, and so now we can start healing and trying to come together more as a family to try and not move on from this, because I don't believe that's possible, but at least try and get our lives to a place where it's not something new and horrible every day.
Was there anything that you could say to them? Were you at any point fearful that he would not be accountable?
Of course, yeah. It's the nature of a jury trial, right? And that the longer it went on, the more we were pensive about what was going to happen in the room today. And we're glad they came to the right conclusion, and I'm glad they took the time to be able to come to that conclusion. Because if they would have rushed and done something else, that would have sucked.
Did you say anything to...
One second, let me get here and I'll come right back to you, okay?
If there's anything to say to Nima's family or to him directly, what would you like to say? The blood is on their hands.
Yeah,
the mother, the sister, and the brother-in-law. Our fight is not over yet.
So it was clear for us within the courtroom of what happened, right? Not only did Nima perpetrate this crime, but also the people in his immediate circle were helpful in trying to cover that fact up. And that helped them to get the charges down to murder 2 today, right? And so we believe that all of them should feel as guilty as Nima does today, right? They are, it's hard to fathom where people reach down to, the depths of what they are, to be able to come to the conclusions and come to the actions that Nima and the people in his halo were in, that they did that night, right? And so, honestly, I don't have anything to say to him directly, because I don't think that's worth it, right? And he's much as a bad process as this has been, they made it better.
Can you take us to the moment you heard the words guilty?
My heart just like I don't know. I had like just all of the emotions at once, I guess I would say. You know, the way procedurally where they said not guilty on murder 1 and then they said guilty on murder 2, that may have been, I thought I was having a heart attack, I gotta say.
Do you think justice will serve?
As much as it can be, right? I know for a fact I'm never going to have my brother back, but this is the best of all worst outcomes, right? And so this is where we are today, and all we can do is move forward.
Legal action, civil suit, anything like that?
We currently are talking to other attorneys to make that a reality, or see if that's a possibility at this time. I'm not a lawyer, but we'll take the advice of other lawyers to make that happen. Yes. Okay. All right. One more question, and then we're gonna, or not? Okay. I'm gonna go be with the family. Thank you. It's my first name is actually Timothy, but I go by Oliver, Oliverlee. And Krista, all
Thank you for.
All right.
Listening in as we hear the brother of Bob Lee speak just moments after the jury verdict was announced that the killer of his brother has been found guilty of second-degree murder. Hearing from Timothy there, who goes by Oliver, speaking about his brother, saying that this is the best of all worst outcomes, saying he just about felt like he was having a heart attack when he first learned that the first-degree murder charge was rejected and then found guilty on second-degree murder. Next to the brother of the victim here, we saw his father actually standing right behind him, and then Bob Lee's ex-wife as well.
Yeah, who is one of many people that have been very vocal, outspoken, critical about the defense in this whole process. As you might imagine, emotions on this side of things can certainly, direct your comments and your attention. But we heard her before the verdict say that the defense was argument, quote, garbage.
Yeah.
She used the word garbage.
You know what? Here we see DA Brooke Jenkins. Let's see. She actually hasn't said much at all, I think, publicly during this trial.
But Henry Lee did say that she is expected to speak about what is happening. She was in the gallery as this case was underway. Let's listen in right now.
Good morning, everyone. I know you just heard from the family. I have to say that we share the relief in this verdict. We truly want to collectively thank the jury for their service. We know that this was a very long commitment of their time, that there was a lot coming at them as far as evidence, and the fact that they took the time that they needed to deliberate and reach this verdict means a great deal, not only to us, but as we know, most especially to this family. I have to right now sing the praises of the two attorneys that handled this case from my office, Omid Talai and Dane Reinstedt. I know these two from having worked with them in our homicide unit prior to becoming the district attorney, and I knew and was confident that we had two of our best handling this case. And I think the verdict is a testament to the hard work that they put in, to the great lawyers that they are, and to their commitment to justice and to this making sure that this family received justice. I also want to thank the San Francisco Police Department, Sergeant Brent Dittmer, who was assigned to this case, to our staff who helped to further the investigation, to our victim advocates who stood by this family during a very tumultuous year as they waited to get to this point. But it took a team effort for us to get here. This isn't just our office. It isn't just the police. It's all of us collectively working together to bring justice to families each and every day. The other thing that I want to say is I think that hopefully now we have once again established what truly happened here. We all know that after Bob Lee was murdered, Elon Musk took to Twitter to make an effort to really shame San Francisco and to make it seem like this was about lawlessness in San Francisco and about what's going on out in our streets. And we knew it was something different. And I think today proved once again that we are a city committed to accountability, we are a city committed to public safety, and that when something bad happens, which we can't always control, that law enforcement at every level will respond to make sure that there is justice and accountability in each and every situation. And so, again, we just want to thank this family that put their trust in us, the communities across San Francisco that put their trust in law enforcement, both the police and my office, to make sure that we had accountability in this case. And so that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins there
So right
talking
now,
about the
that is
case,
the
who was in the
exposure.
courtroom
He is
in the
facing
gallery.
16 years to life.
She recognized the two attorneys who helped prosecute this case and shared her relief about the jury's conviction on second-degree murder against Nima Momeni in the murder of Bob Lee, the Cash App founder who was killed in San Francisco in April of last year. She also made a point to say that this highlights that San Francisco is not a lawless, area, which was apparently highlighted after Lee's killing last year, and she wanted to use the case and the result of this case to refute what Musk said last year when this pretty stunning incident happened. Let's listen in some more comments coming in from those who were in the courtroom.
Contributed to this case, making me and Dane's job fairly easy. We're grateful. We're happy with the verdict.
Are you Mr. Momeni's attorneys are already saying that they're planning an appeal. Are you prepared to fight off any potential appeal down the road?
Appeals are standard anytime we get a conviction in any case. And so this is just customary practice. Any defense lawyer worth their salt is going to file an appeal of any conviction. And so we
severe than the voluntary manslaughter charge. So in California, second-degree murder is punishable by 15 years to life in prison. Some examples of what that means is shooting someone in a fit of rage during an argument, killing someone during the commission of a dangerous felony, or firing a gun into a crowded stadium. Those are the type of things that would get you second-degree murder. So what we're saying here is the jury found that Nima Momeni attacked and killed Lee in some sort of fit of rage, perhaps, but it was not premeditated. They did not plan this out in advance before it happened.
And the prosecutors you just heard on the case say that they're still happy with that because they still get a conviction and a sentencing that could be up to life in prison here. And you touched on this a little bit earlier, Andre. Momeni had a 5-person attorney team of high-profile celebrities out of Miami. There were 2 prosecutors on this case, so certainly heavy lifting for them. We have Henry Lee now live, who has been covering this court case, covering the trial since the day it started. Henry, can you talk a little bit about what it was like seeing a 2-person attorney prosecution team versus a 5-person high-profile defense team kind of battling this out in court?
Yeah, these 2 attorneys, as DA Brooke Jenkins, the 2 prosecutors have a lot of experience with homicides. They were up against a 5-person team. 3 attorneys from Miami, 1 from LA and 1 from San Francisco. Tony Brass, he was the only one of the attorneys who was physically in court. The other came back, other were appearing through Zoom. Now, I mentioned earlier the work of the jury. I ran into the jury just now. They were coming up behind us, and they did not want to comment. Now, the jury, 4-person, in fact, was the one that I've seen raise his hand with many, many questions that he wrote on pieces of paper he handed for the judge. So this jury has been working very diligently, very hard. And that is the latest for now. The jurors do not want to comment at this time.
All right, we want to get back inside the courthouse halls. We were just listening a moment ago to the mother of Nima Momeni, I believe. She was just speaking. We're going to try and turn that tape of what she just said just a moment ago about what happened in court, about the conviction of Nima Momeni in this case. You know, when I heard Oliver Lee speaking a moment ago, I thought it interesting that it was supposed to be Bob Lee's birthday this Friday. December 20th was his birthday, and so this conviction comes at a time when they're normally supposed to be celebrating with a loved one, but they are now marking this occasion with this guilty verdict. We have Michael Cardoza on the phone with us or on Zoom with us to talk a little bit about this case and what transpired today. Michael, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to talk to you a little bit about the verdict in this case, going from the jury deciding not first-degree murder, but second-degree murder. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, I think it's a good verdict. It makes perfect sense to me when you distill this trial down, and I said this right from the get-go. Once Momeni took the stand, this trial and this jury focused on him. There was certainly enough circumstantial evidence that pointed to his guilt, but his testimony, in my opinion, was a train wreck. He fought with the DA at times. He tried to ask questions of the DA when he was being cross-examined. The jury saw all of that, and they saw a bit of a feisty guy in a courtroom, and he was inappropriate at times. I think the jury paid a lot of attention to that, and that affected their verdict in this case.
What's the judge weighing now, Michael, given that a second-degree murder conviction comes with a 15 years to life possible sentence? I mean, there's a big difference between getting out when you're 58 and spending the rest, you know, essentially the second half of your life behind bars.
Well, there's no question, but just so the people viewing understand this, first-degree murder carries a 25 to life. Right. The jury kicked that to the curb, found him not guilty of that. That then brought them down to a second degree, which is 15 to life. And like Henry said earlier, he's actually doing 16 to life because he used a knife. Using a knife carries a 1 year addition to the 15 to life. Had he used a gun, it would have added another 25 years. So you can see the difference between using a gun and a knife. So he will be doing 16 to life. He becomes eligible for parole at the end of 16 years. Then it becomes the decision of the parole board in California. Does he get out after serving those 16 years, or does he stay in? They can keep him up to life.
So I just want to make sure we're accurate here. Is it up to the judge to decide, or do we start with 16 years? Once that 16 years is up, he might get out thanks to parole, or he may not. Is that accurate?
You're spot on accurate. That what the judge does in sentencing, as you will see, the judge will say, I'm sentencing you 15 to life for the conviction of second degree, an additional enhancement of 1 year. I'm sending you to state prison 16 to life. Then when he goes to prison and becomes eligible for parole after those 16 years, then it's up to the parole board to decide whether he gets out after serving 16 years. And that brings in all sorts of other factors. How did you serve your time? Were you cooperative? Did you get in fights? Were there problems during the 16 years? So after 16 years, poorly. So I would think a lot of attorneys would turn the case down.
Michael, I want to ask you too, going back to the verdict here, you mentioned that Momeni's testimony on the stand definitely did not help his case here. But when it comes to separating the difference between first-degree murder and a second-degree murder conviction, how do you think the jury got there? Was there evidence that really separated the two? Was it just the testimony that we heard? What do you think the jury used to finally make that decision?
Well, it would strike me that they really looked to the law for this. I think they had to decide, all right, do we believe that Momeni killed in self-defense? They obviously said no. Once they come to that decision, then they have to decide, all right, we've decided he killed, didn't do it in self-defense. So now let's look to murder one. Murder one was it willful, deliberate, and most importantly, was it premeditated? In other words, did he think about it before he did it? Did he do it with malice aforethought? Malice aforethought is simply the intent to kill. Did he intend to kill? The jury obviously found here, well, we don't think he was willful, deliberate, or premeditated in this killing. They then look to the second and say, all right, did he do it with malice aforethought? Did he have the intent to kill? And they said, yes, he did. They may have looked to voluntary to think, all right, he had the intent to kill, but did he do it in the heat of passion? They obviously said, no, it wasn't the heat of passion. The usual heat of passion is you're really upset with somebody. A lot of attorneys use somebody finds their spouse with somebody else and they get upset and they go crazy and they shoot somebody. That would take a second degree down to a voluntary manslaughter where a reasonable person killed but was so enraged and so emotionally distraught that most people would do that in that type of situation. Right. So they then went back to the second and said, look, he had the intent to kill. It wasn't done really in the heat of passion, and we're coming back with the second. My opinion in all of this jury did a great job. They were thoughtful. They stayed out an appropriate amount of time to vet this evidence, and they came back with a very reasonable verdict in this case, a second degree. The family's happy with it. The DA's obviously happy with it because remember Kate Steinle, the young woman that got shot on the pier, and the DA's office tried to get a first degree in that, and they lost that case. So the last big case this DA's office tried, they got a not guilty. So a lot was at stake for this DA's office. And kudos to them. They did a splendid job.
Michael,
they presented as well.
Well, we'll have to leave it here. We get to talk with you again coming up in our new newscast to go deeper into this guilty of second-degree murder verdict. We'll note it does not appear we'll be hearing from jurors soon. Our hand release says all the jurors have left the building and have said they'll not talk about this yet today.
Yeah, but we are getting some sound with Krista Lee, Bob Lee's ex-wife. Let's take a listen to that sound now.
In the last 18 months, I have received overwhelming information in regards to Mr. Momeni's behavior, his abusive nature, people he has stabbed before, women he has abused before. So this man deserves life in prison as far as I'm concerned, and I'm glad that he is off the streets. And I urge anyone to come forward who has ever been attacked by him and tell their stories. Which he is guilty right now. It's going to take a lot for me to process this right now. So right now I need to join my family though and talk to Omid, and we'll find out more.
Yeah, that's Krista Lee, the ex-wife of Bob Lee here, saying a lot of what we've heard from Lee's side of the family, Lee's side of the legal system here. We're now hearing some of Momeni's side of the emotion here. Manaz Taryani, that is the mother of Nima Momeni. She spoke a short while ago about her son's second-degree murder conviction.
How am I doing? If you were me, how would you do? How would you feel?
What do you think happened that day? What did the jury get wrong?
Those are not the questions I should answer. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
You heard there Nima Momeni's mother not really answering a whole lot after court today after the verdict was read. Her son getting that second-degree murder charge there, 16 years to life in prison. As you heard Michael Cardoza say, that knife added the extra year. Normally it's 15 years to life, but the knife added an extra year to this case. And so we're looking forward to now what will happen next. As DA Brooke Jenkins said a moment ago, it is very likely here that an appeal will be filed in this case. It's pretty normal, but she is going to have her team in place to make sure that the guilty verdict on second-degree murder charges are sustained.
Yeah, we wait for the sentencing now, too. We know a judge will announce that sentencing sometime at a later date.
I have much more for you coming up on our new newscast with a breakdown from Henry Lee Christian Captain. You can see him there in the hallway. And we're going to have all the wrap-up of today's of what happened in court today, breaking down what happened, coming your way at noon. And on the Fox Local app right now, where you can look back at all the legislation introduced by California leaders to shield schools from potential immigration.